allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get underway, I want to welcome everyone to the November meeting of the Irondequoit Zoning Board of Appeals. A few administrative details. The fire exit is located to your left. In the event of a fire, you will be notified by an announcement. If so notified, please move in a common, orderly fashion to the exit. Do not use the elevators. Use either the north or the south stairs to leave the building. Meetings are being recorded tonight by our secretary, Donna, for the purpose of a record and minutes. So when you come to the microphone each time, please identify yourself clearly and speak into the microphone. We follow the items in the order they appear on the agenda. Extra copies of the agenda are on the table near the door. Once the case has been called, the applicant or their representative comes up to the podium, identifies himself or herself, states their address, pauses a moment, raises their right hand, and then gets sworn in and then presents their case. During the presentation, the members of the board have an opportunity to question or engage in discussion with the applicant. And when that process has been completed, we open it up to public input. Anyone wishing to speak to the board regarding the application should come to the podium, identify themselves along with their address, and direct their comments and questions to the board. Once all the there are three categories of public input. We take them in this order. We ask first those who wish to speak in favor of the application. Then we invite those who wish to speak in opposition to the application. And then we invite those who aren't for or against the application but want to talk to us about something to do with the application. After that process has been completed, the applicant or their representative are afforded an opportunity to respond to anything that was raised during the public input portion. Once that's completed, we close the case and move on to the next case. Once all the cases have been heard, the board will take a short recess, and then we will return to deliberate on the cases in the order in which they appear on the agenda and for which the applicant is still present. So if the applicant on the first case has left, but the applicant for the second case is still here, we would deliberate on the second case first, go down the agenda in that fashion, then come back to number one and take up the cases for which the applicant is no longer present. No further input is allowed during this portion of the hearing, but you're welcome to stay and listen to the deliberation. If you wish to leave, you can find out the results by calling the Planning and Zoning Department tomorrow morning after 9, or catching it on channel 1300 something if you have the cable. As I said, during the deliberative portion, no further input is allowed unless, of course, it's specifically requested by the board. So I believe that completes all the administrative details.
Okay. ZB 2020-11-1. Upon the matter of request by James Warner for area variances to construct a garage addition to an attached garage exceeding maximum allowable square footage and front width of garage on premises 111 Valley Circle in an R1 residential district.
Is anyone here for 111 Valley Circle? Step right up to the podium then.
Good evening. My name is Jan Nienhuis, and I own property on 92 Valley Circle. I'm the owner of the house there. And
Hold on a minute, sir.
okay.
Is the applicant present? All right, so you live at 92 Valley Circle, sir?
Correct.
All right. The applicant hasn't presented the case to us yet. Did you want to wait to respond to address whatever he may say, or did you want to speak to us now? I mean, we've reviewed the application.
Okay, I can speak to you now.
Okay,
I object to the construction at 111 Valley Circle due to the fact that I am across from Mr. Wollender's house, and it will restrict the view of my house to the bay.
okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's all.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. We will make note of your opposition to the application, and we'll give the applicant a chance to address us if he shows up later. Otherwise, the application will end up being tabled for another month. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
ZB 202011-2, upon the matter of request by Marathon Engineering, acting as agent for Jay Wegman for zoning board consent to place 17 additional outdoor storage units and to strike 11 outdoor storage spaces for boats, RVs, and automobiles on premises 2111 Hudson Avenue, Cube Smart Self-Storage in a C Business District.
Good evening, everyone. Matt Tomlinson from Marathon Engineering, appearing on behalf of the applicant. As mentioned, we're here.
If you would, excuse me, sir, if you would
Sure.
raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
We've appeared before the planning board, and just to give this board a little bit of history, we appeared approximately 2 years ago before the planning board for the conversion of the former Chase Pickin and childcare there on Hudson Avenue at 2111 Hudson, which included approval of some enclosed outdoor storage in the former lumber yard on the north side of that building. That space has been completely renovated and is currently being leased out there. As part of the approval process, we enclosed with a new fence the area to the east towards the multifamily residential, to the west, the multifamily residential with a new fence. But at the time, there were no plans for the storage of additional vehicles or recreational vehicles out behind that building, as the owner was unsure as to the demand for the spaces within the already enclosed area. And so at that time, the planning board requested that we reappear before that board for formal approval of the outdoor storage, given the demand, especially with COVID driving recreational vehicle use or outdoor recreation versus more enclosed. They're seeing a large demand for those spaces and subsequently requested us to obtain approval for them at the planning board. We appeared before the planning board workshop as well as the planning board last Monday and received approval, which is the reason for our appearing before this board for consent for that exterior outdoor storage now. One of the changes that I wanted to highlight as part of the discussion with the planning board was relative to the initial plan that we submitted to this board was showing the fence being pushed further towards the multifamily and some additional pavement being installed. As part of the discussion with the planning board and also in working through some of their comments or concerns relative to adding additional impervious space, we then subsequently submitted a revised site plan, which I believe this board received copies of, showing that the existing pavement limits and the fence as currently installed now, it's a white solid 6-foot vinyl fence, would stay exactly where they are today, and that there would be no additional improvements placed other than placing of the 11 spaces and the 17 additional outdoor storage units. One of the additional comments from the planning board that was tacked on as a condition to the approval was related to the color along the west face of the outdoor storage units, and I don't know if this board got a picture of the units that are going to be installed. They're consistent with the units that are currently along the interior face, or that you see through the black fence at the east side of the enclosed storage space. The planning board requested that the west elevation of these units not have the red coloring, but be consistent with the white coloring to more closely blend with the rear of the building and with the fencing out there, and that was agreed to as part of those conditions. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions from the board. I'm not entirely sure from a consent versus an approval standpoint how that works, because this is my first time doing that here with this board, but we can answer any questions that the board may have.
Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any. We'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about storage, outdoor recreation, colors of garage doors or unit doors or anything like that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter and move on to the next case. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, Chairman, I just want to provide an update that the applicant for 111 Valley Circle is here or is here now, and I indicated to him that he would just be, that we're continuing on the agenda, and you'd pick that up at the tail end, or if you would prefer to do that another way?
No, I think we'll pick that up at the end.
Okay.
Upon, ZB 2020-11-3, upon the matter request by Kevin Kloss for area variances to construct a two-story addition with less than required front setback and exceeding maximum lot coverage on premises 59 Anchor Terrace in an R2 residential district.
Hello, my name is Kevin Claus, and this is an architect that we are working with, David Burrows, on designing this addition.
You'd both raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Klaus, you live at 59 Anchor Terrace?
That's correct.
And Mr. Burns, your address?
64
Or
Erie...
Burrows, I'm sorry.
Burrows, yeah. 64 Erie Crescent in Fairport.
Okay.
I guess I will describe the project. So Kevin and Shelley asked me to design an addition for their house for additional living space on the ground floor and 2 bedrooms and a bathroom on the second floor. I did a site study that indicated that in an R2 district, we're allowed a 50-foot front setback and a 25% lot coverage. So we need variances on both the front setback on lot coverage to build this. There's no need for a side setback. We can clear the side property line by the required setback amount. But the front setback is at somewhere around 12.2 feet in a district that requires a 50-foot front setback, so it's a pre-existing non-conforming condition. So we request a variance on that. And then the lot size is,
Do I understand in looking at the plans correctly that actually this is going to be set back from the road a little further than the front of the house?
yes, so we're
Okay.
going another foot back from the existing front. For visual effect, more than anything else, and just because we can, I guess. And so the lot is 5,000 square feet. We will be going over the 25% maximum lot coverage by, a small amount, 275 square feet over. And that is because it's a relatively small lot and we're going over the maximum lot coverage. So the design of the house, of the addition, is to be compatible with the house, be compatible with other houses in the neighborhood, maintain the same architectural style, have minimal impact on the surroundings, yet give the owners a better house, more livable house. And I'll let Kevin explain anything he wants to.
I don't have much to add, other than both my wife and I, we love the area, and this would allow us to continue to stay there while our family grows and expands. We're running out of space already, so. Be happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Anybody have any questions? Comments? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about the application but isn't either for it or against it? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter. Thank you.
ZB 2020-11-4, upon the matter of request by Brian and Nora Lee McCall for special use permit to harbor 2 horses on premises 45 Nob Hill in an R1 residential district.
Hi, I'm Nora McCullough. I live at 45 Nob Hill in Arundecoit.
You swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I've been looking forward to this since I got the packet. You have quite an interesting property there.
I do, yes.
It's hard to find.
Very.
So you'd like to have, this is a special use permit, which, for those who are watching, or those who are here, is a different type of action than a variance. A variance allows, it is a decision, is an application for us to allow something that does not comply with the limits that are set forth in the zoning ordinance. We're being asked with a variance to give an exception to the general rules. With a special use permit, it's a different kind of application. A special use permit allows the board to impose conditions or necessary limitations on a use that the town board has already determined is appropriate in the town. So one of the things that the town board has entrusted to the zoning board in the area of special use permits is the harboring of animals and poultry, which is why, if you are a frequent observer of our meetings, this is the category that the chickens and the hens and the other animals that pigeons and other animals, goats, I think one for a number of exotic animals. They all fall into that category, and for some reason, the town board believes that the members of the zoning board have some area of expertise in animals and poultry. So we've tried to fulfill the responsibilities in that regard, but this is the first application we've had for horses. So who knows what might come next. So you want to house horses, and from the application I gather there have been horses on and off on the property since the late 1950s?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time the horses were there?
I don't believe the previous owners had them. I know from the neighbors that I believe in the last 10 years.
One of the things that in our packet, there was a copy of a decision from the board in July of 1998 that approved the special use permit for 2 horses on the property. And the conditions that were imposed related to that there could be no more than 2 horses, that there would be no boarding of other people's horses on the property, that the solid waste production of the horses would be properly managed to prevent odor problems, and that it would be limited to the applicant. Are those conditions acceptable?
Absolutely.
And in addition, would it be your intention if one horse were to pass to replace it with another?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you're not asking to have it limited as we have with chickens and things to the ones that you bring on. You would like to be able to keep no more than 2, whether they're the same 2 that you're going to bring in now or a different one later?
Yes, I'd always like to have two on the property.
Always have two, okay. Does anybody have any questions? I would note that waiting for me tonight when I arrived, there were a number of letters from some of your neighbors. All right, from Jack and Lizette Foley at 78 Old North Hill, who enjoyed having horses there before and are looking forward to having horses there again. I'm not sure. Oh, Jennifer Lilly from Begin Again Horse Rescue, who says that they've checked you out and that you're approved to have two horses that have been rescued come to the property and live with you, right?
Correct.
Then Linda Bretz, who owns 37 Nob Hill. She's one of your neighbors. And she also enjoyed looking out her back window years ago at the horses and is looking forward to doing that again. And then a letter from Jack and Kathleen Evans at 51 Nob Hill, who also referenced the fact that horses were there previously and that they're in favor of having them again. And then a letter from someone who, Jennifer Barrett from Beacon View Court, who speaks highly of you and is in favor of your application to have horses at the property.
I did have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
I was just curious, I saw in your letter that it says you intend to make arrangements for waste removal. What are the arrangements for waste removal?
Yeah, so our first is to compost. We have 6 acres of property at Nob Hill, so we have plenty of room for that. We've also talked to Jeff at Arundecoit Landscaping, who's willing to take a 6x10 trailer when we have any overflow or anything like that. And then we're also with Begin Again Horse Rescue, where we rescue the horses from, that have plenty of acreage down in Lima, that would take a trailer if needed as well.
So you would load up a trailer with the horse production?
That's correct. Yes, we have a 6x10 dump trailer with a cover on it.
And how long would it take to fill a 6x10 trailer?
With the 2 horses, probably about a month and a half, 2 months.
So what happens during the month and a half while the trailer's being filled?
We'd have a cover over it. We'd lime the trailer to make sure that the smell stayed down, and we would make sure that it wasn't parked close to any of the neighbors.
Anything else you think we should know?
Just that I've been riding all my life. I have 2 small children who can't play sports or do anything like that right now because of COVID, and we do go down every weekend to see our horses in Lima, and it would obviously be much better for all of us if they were right outside.
The solid waste removal plan is, do you know if that's what the previous owners
I
used
don't
or
know.
how they did it?
I know there's a farm up on Thomas, and they do the same.
Okay. I'm talking the one at the top of the hill that used to be owned by the Demandas there.
I'm not sure about that, but yes, the one on, yes, the white.
Any questions, comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who'd like to speak against this application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about horses or solid waste removal? Or anything like that related to this application? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this case. Move on to the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.
KZB 2020-11-5, upon the matter request by Daniel Pope Architect and Associates, PLLC, acting as agent for Frank Spezio, for area variances to construct a 46 by 36 by 14 to 16-foot high detached garage exceeding maximum allowable height, square footage, and front width of garage, and for a side/rear yard gravel driveway on premises 397 Bayview Road in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, board members. Daniel Pope, architect representing Frank and Teresa. Teresa's here this evening, Spiazio. And what they've hired me to do here is to design them a building because he houses,
I'm sorry, can you raise your right hand?
I apologize.
You moved right into the, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So Teresa and Frank would like to put in a second storage building because they own a cottage on Sodas Bay and they have two boats, and one being a large, over 30-foot pontoon boat, and he now currently stores it out on the property. And we felt that he'd like to get that inside along with the other boats and some cars that he has. And he currently doesn't have the space in the current garage that's there. It's an old concrete building that's it's compromised, I would say. The concrete block is cracking, and we don't feel that it's a good building to add on to, so we decided to tear it down. And currently, that building is roughly 600 square feet, I believe. We'd like to get these boats inside, and so they're not obscured outside with the neighborhood. And the idea being, with this property being large enough, we wanted to cut in a new driveway and partially pave it to the back of the house, and then put in a gravel surface to this new location for the building that we're proposing. And it would have 5 overhead doors and space for his vehicles and boat. The variances, we're over our square footage on the building, and we're over the height by a couple of feet. We're going to be about 14 feet versus 12. And I believe the setbacks are fine. We've actually moved the building inboard of the property line for 25 feet, as you can see on the site plan. And I'm not sure about the variance, if that's required for the driveway or not, but I put that in as a note to mention that we are cutting in, and it shows on the plan, the driveway. So I guess if anybody has any questions to that, I can answer that, or Teresa might be able to help too.
I'm trying to orient myself to the north and south elevation drawing that you submitted.
Yeah, the north arrow is skewed, so the south is really the southeast elevation where the four doors are showing on my drawing.
All right. Now, one of the things that was waiting for us tonight when we arrived was, well, there were 2 letters. One was from Elizabeth Derry and Pat Pittman, who indicated that they were in favor of your request. But there's also a letter from Angelina Fosco, who indicates that she does not object to the size or the design of the garage, but she would like it to be moved further away from her property line because she has a flag lot and looks out over it, and she is asking if the garage could be relocated 10 feet further into the property from her property line. Is that something that's feasible?
The owner doesn't want to do that. We spoke with that already. As it is, we've taken some pictures, and we were over at the site, and we couldn't tell how she could even see this building. So we would object to that movement. And also, the other reason would be is that there's a lot that he purchased and now is divided or combined the lot. We don't want to encroach on any more of that green space, because then the driveway is going to be counted more over towards that other side of the green space garage, or driveway. So that's our argument to that. The owner doesn't want to do it. We don't feel that it's a concern with visible objections, because we were over there looking at it and we saw there's no way, there's evergreen trees and she's way in the back there, so how can that be a distraction to her visual connection on her property? So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. we've had an application for structures to be built to house multiple vehicles in the past, and the question that has come up is when they can't be, when they're no longer used by the current owner. What problems, because the granting of this variance runs with the land, as you know, and so once this is built, it's there, and the next owner may not have the things to store in it, and the next owner may come to us and say, well, you know, you let them put this humongous, 5-car, 6-car structure on the property, and I can't get a reasonable return, so I want to use it for something else. And I guess that we've had a concern with that in the past. We've approved some, we've denied others. So what I need to ask in this case is, why should we grant this? Basically what it is you're looking to, if I understand you correctly, exceed by almost double what the code allows in terms of garage space associated with a residence. And again, as I said, I'm wondering if you can give me a justification for that, other than that the owners have cars and boats that they'd like to store on their property when there's other storage facilities in town, like the applicant who preceded you by 1 or 2 cases tonight, where those vehicles and boats could be stored.
Okay. The lot is exceptionally large, and it's a choice of whether he leaves cars and boats outside, and is there a zoning code in the town of Arundecoit that doesn't allow people to store cars and boats outside. So that was one reason.
Well,
Let's get
it
these
doesn't,
inside.
my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is it doesn't allow you to store them outside in front of the house.
Okay.
It allows for storage to the side, and it allows for storage in the rear.
So with that in mind, and also I believe that with somebody that would come in and buy this property in the future, I feel it'd be a bonus and a improvement, and also increase the value of the property. I would imagine that the town has set up guidelines so that people can't, in residential districts, rent these facilities out and convert them. So I wouldn't think that somebody's going to come in and try to make money and rent this out, although they might and try, but I don't think that the town would approve something like that in the future. So my feeling is, it's got a large lot here, it's heavily wooded, and he needs storage for 4 or 5 vehicles, 2 or 3 boats. If you want them out on the grass out there, that's one thing. Covering them up, keeping care of them is another. So I guess that's what I have to rebuttal that.
Well, it also looks, it appears to me from the layout of the drawing that at some point in the future, another house or 2 could be built in that back area. It'd have to be subdivided, but that's a residential neighborhood, and that's the primary use that's afforded to that under the ordinance. So I'm, allowing this pretty much kills any chance of that at any point in the future.
Well, I guess that could be an assumption.
So what I've heard in the justification is that the owners want to store these things on their property indoors. And that, I mean, what's the hardship that's
Hardship
associated?
is that they don't have the space to do so. And there's plenty of room on the site to do it. And we're inside all of the zoning setbacks. We're inside the lot coverages. We're barely just over the height restrictions. So we're just asking for relief to build this building as we've presented it. And it'll be a good benefit to my client and, the value of the property. And you see that the design is, sensitive, and, it's not just a pole barn. We're gonna be putting some big money into this. And, we feel that it's gonna be an enhancement to the property, and it will increase the value of the property. A lot of people these days that I talk to love the idea of storage. And, it's lacking, and then you gotta go out and pay for it. A lot of people can't afford to do that. They'd rather build something if they have the wherewithal and to do it.
Well, I gotta believe that you could store a lot of cars and boats for a long time for what it's gonna cost to build this. So,
Well,
I understand your argument, I'm just saying, it doesn't really, it's not very persuasive in my view, that this is a cost-saving, operation here.
Do you know where the owners currently have their cars and boats in storage?
they're there. The boat is there on site right now, stored and in that the existing building that we're gonna tear down. There's already a building there. So what's the difference if somebody comes and buys the property as it is or not? We got another building in there already.
Well, it looks to me like the building that you're building is about 2 to 3 times the size of the existing building that's
Existing
there.
building is 600 square feet,
Okay,
and our building's gonna be 14,
1,400, right?
1460, I believe.
1,460, right, so 2.5 times.
Well, this is what we're proposing, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, we have to include the existing garage in the square footage as
I
well?
think, yes, and I think the application indicates that it includes the existing garage, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does this back up to the expressway?
I believe so, because I could hear the cars
Okay.
when I was back there. Does it?
My name is Teresa Taddeo, and my husband is Frank Spezio, so want me to...
Oh, yes.
Don't want to forget.
Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I would just like to say, I grew up in this home, and my husband and I bought it a few years ago. So the home has been there it was built in 1958. So we were really pleased to come back to Arundequite. And it's kind of an emotional thing for me because my dad built that building and he also built the home. But the building is on the edge of the expressway is behind us, and the land has eroded significantly. So there is it's close to the edge. It's also decrepit now. I would love to have fixed it up, but it's not tall enough to put the boat in. But there's also things that I need to put away, like patio furniture, because my house is a mid-century modern, and it's like a one-car garage. So by the time you put your car in and your tools and some other things, there's no room left to put anything that you want to put away for the winter. So the building, yes, we are, and Angie, I did speak with her, and I did make a video. You can't see this building from her yard. You just can't. So yes, it is. We are asking for bigger. It's not just because of the cars and the boat. We used to have a pool. If I could ever put another pool in, I would love to. But you still have to store everything for the winters. So that is the reason, one of the reasons why we wanted to replace it, because it's not going to last much longer. It's ready to fall. And I know my husband wanted to put something much more decorative because it's pretty ugly from the road. So my neighbors were excited about it. They were all happy for me and envious, and I may have to store some of their patio furniture. I don't know. But is there another question I could answer, or if anyone has any?
Excuse me, Chairman, I just wanted to also point out from a staff perspective that the property in the vicinity of where the building is located may, and may is the key word there, may be encumbered by an environmental protection overlay district or two. It's typically a site visit would be required by town staff to determine that. So it's possible, even with variance, they may need a planning board approval for the EPOD permits if it's deemed to need one. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that as you move forward with the application. You would need to condition on the requirement to obtain an EPOD permit if one's deemed to be needed.
Okay, so we don't know the answer to that at this point.
It's difficult to know for sure. There's mapping in the area that indicates there could be the EPODs present. Generally, field investigation is required to verify the extent and location of the protected features. But that area also runs along the other areas where it's currently sort of vacant land.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about something related to the application that's neither in favor or opposed to the application, like storage or EPODs or anything else like that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter, and we'll go back to the first case on the agenda, for which the applicant has now arrived.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are Mr. Avery?
No,
Oh.
Warner.
Warner. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Here it is. Mr. Warner, and you live at 111 Valley Circle?
I do.
All right, if you'd raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. One of your neighbors has already addressed us and indicated that he's opposed to what you're proposing because he lives across the street from you, and what you're proposing is going to block his and interfere with his view of the bay.
I would take objection to that as I don't believe there is one. You can see it from the street, but that's about it.
Okay, so go ahead with your presentation.
I put everything into the pamphlet that I gave you guys. I have a small ranch with a small two-car garage, and I own 3 vehicles. And I also have a girlfriend that stays at my place most of the time. So we end up parking a couple cars out in the driveway all the time. I was looking to expand and put an extra 2-car garage. I worked with Jim Fahey Architects, and he came up with a plan, as you can see in the concept photo, that actually staggers the garage towards the rear so that we can meet setback requirements. I've already had the Public Works Department out checking because there was an EPOD question initially. That's been resolved. It's not encroaching on any EPOD area. Also, there was a utility right away on my property, and we had to make sure that I was 10 feet away from the utility easement. And Public Works has come out and verified that and given me the go-ahead to proceed on to the planning board. So there's that. There's also a bit more to the plan of adding a master bedroom in the back. Again, it's a rather small ranch and just trying to get a little more living space in it. But primarily it's garage and mechanicals and such like that. What I am exceeding is the frontage allowance and the square footage of the garage. Your town allows for 900 square feet for a garage space.
I have 973 in the plan. We're going to the bare minimums because the additional garages are just enough to get cars in. And the two-car garage I have now, you can't even open the door on a car when you get two cars in it. So it's fairly small. So I'm just trying to get a little room for the vehicles, get them out of the driveway, and that's it.
So is this gonna add room to the two-car garage that's there now?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, that's just gonna be the in and out garage for the most part.
What is a hobby garage?
That's what the architect calls, it's just where I keep a car that I drive infrequently.
Oh, okay. I was curious about that. What is the front width pertain to?
If you don't mind me answering, apparently the town allows 30 feet, lineal feet of frontage, and I'm around the 40 area,
Right, and you would be at what,
around the 40,
44?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's.
It would be
it
in my
says-
narrative. But I think he did a fairly good job of keeping, the architecture true to the neighborhood and true to the house itself.
And the garage that's labeled as the hobby garage,
Yes,
is set back
yeah, it's set back
how far from the other one if you,
the front of the garage.
it looks like it's almost at the back of the house,
Yeah,
not-
it's almost,
not the front.
it goes to the back of it actually starts at the back of the original garage. That's the only way, again, we could get by the utility right away.
All right. Okay.
If you have any interest, I have a picture of the view from the street, if you want to see what you can see.
Yeah, if you want to show that to the, oh, it's in a phone?
Yeah.
Oh. You can hand it to Mr. Hart and he'll pass it around and then we'll do it around the back row and then we'll,
Touch the screen so it doesn't go dark. You can expand it if you want, so. That's taken directly from the property in question.
I'm sorry.
okay, could you also show that to your neighbor who's here?
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you. Brad. Yeah. Want to use some? Nothing but the best from New York State.
New York State clean.
Nothing but the best from New York State.
Hey, you know. Did you want some? Isaac? Charlie's?
Oh, I just sprayed some.
Oh, okay.
Mine smells great. I don't know what you guys are using.
All right, there you go. All right. All right, anything else that you'd like the board to know?
Just my apologies for being late.
That's all
I
right.
was inside a closet painting, and my alarm was supposed to be 30 minutes prior, and it went off right at 7 o'clock, so my apologies.
That's fine. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, I got, the hobby garage.
Yes,
The site plan, A4, kind of indicates that the corner of it's gonna be right on the 13-foot offset.
it's going to be, if you look from the center line, there are 3 lines on the thing. The exterior line is the boundary of the variance. So I am literally 4 inches from that.
Actually, I'm going to correct the applicant. It's actually the easement boundary. And so, apologies, I don't mean to step over you. I just want to make sure everybody's using the right terminology. So the easement, the Deputy Commissioner of Public Works was out on the site with me. I was there to verify the location of E-pods. There are none that come into play at the location of the building site. And Aaron McGee, the Deputy Commissioner, did a field check to determine the outer edge of the easement, so it's not where the storm sewer physically sits. So that building corner is not on top of any underground utility, it's on the 10-foot wide easement on that side of the utilities location. And then there's a 10-foot on the other side as well.
I think Brad was referring to the 13-foot setback line.
Yeah.
Oh, apologies.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Give a whole-
this plan shows a 10-foot utility easement with 3 feet of, and an additional 3 feet for a setback. But the question I have is, who established the setback, your architect, or was that from DPW, or?
The setback is, who determined the setback? The architect. There's,
All right, so he intended to leave 3 feet between the corner of the house and the easement, and then there's 10-foot easement beyond it.
correct, yes.
All right, just question for staff is, DPW is okay with the garage over the easement, or the driveway over the easement? That's always an issue if we have to do any repairs over there, that who's going to repair the driveway?
Bear with me for 1 minute, I'm just, what plan, you were looking at
A4.0.
A4.
He's indicating that to add the new driveway to go to the other garages, it would go over there. Currently, over the sewer right now, our driveways are on top of
Okay.
it.
All right, as long as DPW is okay with it, but
Yeah, DPW signed off. I have a letter from them.
from the, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's someplace in there it says that if they have to dig it up,
They gotta dig it up.
you're responsible for the repairs?
I was not aware of that.
That's what I'm getting at.
what I'll do is part of it is I believe that depending on the location of where the driveway work would be conducted, bear with me for a moment.
Again, just to stress, the driveway that I currently have is on top of the easement. It's right on top of the sewer line.
Oh, part of it is, yeah.
Yeah, a good part of it, yes. Yep.
So in issuing a right-of-way permit, DPW would address that issue.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll open it up to public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this application, besides the gentleman who already spoke to us? Did you want to add anything, sir?
There is no animosity between Mr. Walden and myself.
I didn't
But-
assume there was.
Okay. But I ask anybody.
I'm sorry, can you say your name one more time for the
Oh, yeah.
record?
My
and
name
your
is
address.
Jan Nienhuis. I ask anybody on the board or Mr. Walden to come over to my house and look from my dining room, and I can see the bay right now as it is. And with the obstructions, I'm afraid I won't be able to see the bay. So anybody who's is invited to come to my place, 92 Valley Circle. Take a look. You too.
And there was another gentleman who indicated he wished to speak.
Yes, my name is Don Burrell, and I live at 104 Valley Circle. I'd like to say that Mr. Warner, has been an excellent neighbor for more years than I care to remember. I'm with my neighbor Jan there. We have a very limited view of the bay from our house and our property, and the construction of the two garages side by side, even though they're going to be set back off of the road, will severely inhibit our view of the bay, which of course goes into our assessed value, and we'll have to fight it out with the assessor if this project goes through to get our property reassessed. Also, I have some concerns about that there are two garages which are being built, which will be set back off of the existing garages, and they will require driveways to go up into them. So the view from our house will be nothing but a sea of tarmac, and really detract, I think, from the overall view from the limited view that we have of the bay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak with respect to this application? You can come back, sir.
Just one additional comment on the assessment point that he made. Being I'm investing probably about $250,000 in this project, it will increase the value of my house, which in turn will increase the value of the properties throughout the neighborhood, is usually what happens. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter, and we will be in recess until 8:05. Uh, 111 Valley Circle is here. 2111 Hudson Avenue is not here. Oh. 59 Anchor Terrace is here. .45 Nob Hill is here. And 397 Bayview Road is not here. Okay. So the first case that we're going to be calling is the 111 Valley Circle. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make an application does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? I'll make a motion that we grant the variance as requested with the following findings of fact. The addition of the two garages will not create a major change to the character of the neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood. Most of the houses have garages, and this will be adding garage space, but it doesn't drastically change the character of the neighborhood. The alternatives that would not require a variance would mainly be having a smaller garage or leaving cars in the driveway. It's not a substantial request. It's 73 feet, which is less than 1/10 of the permitted square footage for garage space in the in the town code. It will not have a adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. It's a self-created situation in that the applicant wants additional garage space. However, that's not a sufficient reason to deny the application. I would also note that the applicant, that the proposed addition does not require a variance of the side setback. Falls within the side setback, and I understand and can appreciate the applicant's neighbors indicating that the granting of this application will impair their view to some extent. With respect to that, I would simply note if it was an addition for anything other than a garage, it wouldn't be requiring a variance, and they wouldn't need to come before this board. And if it was anything other than a garage, they'd be able to do it without any need for anything other than getting the appropriate building permits. Also, I would note that while I understand that views are an asset to homeowners, the homeowners do not have a right to a view. When their view conflicts with the neighbor's use of their property, of the property that the neighbor owns, the view necessarily, if they want to preserve the view, they can buy the property that encompasses the view. Short of that, neighbors have a right to develop their property within the limits of the ordinance, and so I feel that this is an appropriate application to grant. Is there anyone who wishes to second that motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no members are absent. We are fully constituted. Next application is pertaining to 59 Anchor Terrace. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion that we grant this application as provided by the architect and the applicant, based on the following findings of fact. Possible change to the character of the neighborhood, or neighborhood character. My wife and I walk quite a bit around that area, and there are several two-story houses in the area. I know that there are mostly ranches, but there are several additions and two-story houses in the neighborhood, so it wouldn't completely change the character of the neighborhood. Alternatives not requiring a variance. There's not really a lot of room to mitigate the not having a variance because the property is so small. The substantiality of the request is essentially not too large. There's not really going to have a lot of physical or environmental conditions. In fact, it's going to add value to the property, and the homeowner will be able to stay into his home and stay in Irondequoit as opposed to, moving his growing family. And the situation is self-created. He wants to add living space to his property, but he also wants to maintain where he's living and continuously raise his family in the town of Irondequoit. And he's improving his property as is, so he can stay in his current home.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We remain fully constituted. Next application pertains to 45 Nob Hill. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone want to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'd like to move it.
Okay.
Move that we approve it. I don't see this as being a change in the character of the neighborhood down there. That's a pretty wide open, even though it's a residential area, it's, forested, there's a lot of land down there. And, we've got comments from adjoining neighbors who are in favor of it, so I don't see any change in the character of the neighborhood. The alternatives, obviously, leave the horses where they are, which is a inconvenience for the family, having to drive down, I think they said Lima. Or other alternatives like not having the horses, I don't think it's fair to the family. Also, that site has had horses in the past and it has not seemed to have been a problem with the community. The request is not substantial, again, given the size of the property and the location. There won't be any effect on the physical environment, other than some solid waste from the horses, which is actually can turn out to be a benefit if it uses fertilizers, and alternatives have been planned for taking care of that. Obviously, the situation is self-created, but the property has enough room to have the animals. The neighbors are not against it, so I believe it should be approved.
I would
I'll
second.
second.
Well, I was just going to ask Mr. Upson if you would adopt the decision that this board reached in
Yeah,
July of 1998.
actually, I meant to include
Or actually,
conditions.
I'm sorry, the decision is dated November 3rd, 1997. It wasn't filed until July 31st of 1998. And the limitations that are set forth, the conditions, you would adopt those as well?
I agree, yes.
Okay.
Maximum of 2 horses on the premises, no boarding of other people's animals or horses. The solid waste production must be properly managed as proposed by the applicant to prevent odor problems in the area. And the special use applies only to this particular applicant.
A legitimate one.
Yes, that can, for.
Okay.
And that goes to the point I want to clarify. This particular application is not for an area variance. So you did go through those
Oh, that's right.
factors, and those aren't necessarily applicable to an area variance, to this application as a special use permit. They may raise similar restrictions or conditions the board wants to consider in granting the special use permit. But as such, it is a permitted use, with any reasonable conditions which you have laid out here and would be appropriate for the special use permit.
And Ms. Bickett, you wish to second that?
Yes, I'll
correct?
second that.
Okay. I hadn't meant to cut you off before.
I forgive you.
All right. All those in favor, or is there any discussion first? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions?
No, Sean did.
Motion carries 6 votes in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions. The board remains fully constituted. The next application pertains to 2111 Hudson Avenue. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make an application or a motion with respect to this application?
I'll move that we approve it. Again, it's the character of the neighborhood. It is a commercial district. It has storage there now. They've made attempts to protect the adjoining.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Just to a point, this is granting consent, so
Oh,
there's
I'm
no
sorry, that's-
variance required. So if you want to speak to the same issues that you might,
Yeah.
you don't need to phrase it as if you're granting a variance. This is the board granting consent for the outdoor storage.
Yeah, I don't, do we need to go through all these procedures?
Well, you can point to the details that might lead you to want to offer a consent.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see any alternatives to this, it is a going business in a commercial district, and I don't see any reason not to give grant consent to it. It's not substantial considering the type of operations going on over there. Therefore, I approve that we grant consent to it, or consent to the proposal.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
God knows we need storage space in Arundecoit.
Any other discussion or comments from the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. Nobody is absent. The board remains fully constituted. The last application on the agenda is pertaining to 397 Bayview Road. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? All right, I'll make a motion that we grant the variance with the following findings. The proposed structure is not going to adversely change the character of the neighborhood. The houses in this particular area, particularly the applicant's property, is very extensive, and the structure is going to be located well behind the structure, and it's not going to be, because of the topography of the lot and the forestation on the lot, it's not going to be standing out in the neighborhood such that it would be viewed as being entirely out of character. The design that was submitted is an attractive design that is not going to adversely visually impact the neighborhood. The alternatives that don't require a variance are storing their cars and boats off-site, and while that's certainly available, especially with 11 new spots behind on Hudson Avenue, the applicant is using the property now to store them, and the only difference is that this will allow for indoor storage, and there's a structure there now that's going to be removed that's being used for indoor storage of some items. This request involves a substantial deviation from the existing square footage that's permitted under the ordinance. However, because it's a separate standalone building and it's located to the rear of the property, although it's a substantial request, it's not going to have a substantial impact. There's no discernible effect on the physical or environmental conditions if it's granted, other than that it needs to be in conformity with the EPOD restrictions that are in place, if any, and if there are EPOD considerations, then it's going to need to be conditioned upon approval from the planning board. It is a self-created situation, but it's not an uncommon situation. We regularly deal with requests from people to increase their storage space to house cars, boats, and things of that nature. So I think that while I'm generally not in love with large structures like this that are just used to house what one of our members used to refer to as toys, in this instance, I think that it's just on the other side of being acceptable, or on the side of being acceptable. Does anyone wish to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Huh?
Right down for second.
Who do you have?
Well, I heard Mr. Elliott and.
Oh, well, Mr. Elliott second. Mr. Upson's already in the minutes. All right, any discussion?
Is that including the gravel driveway going all the way in the back too?
I don't, does the gravel yes,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
requires a,
since they're paving it up to it looks like they're paving it up to the back line of the house. So I think the gravel from that point to the garage is not even gonna be visible from the road. And I don't see that as a real major problem.
there's enough area over there that
Yeah.
us creative firm won't be an issue. Should not be an issue.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Mr. Trevis and who?
Me.
Charles,
Oh,
nay.
Charlotte. Any abstentions? Motion carries. 5 votes in favor, 2 opposed, no abstentions. No one is absent. The board remains fully constituted. With the packets that were delivered to everyone on the board, there were minutes from the meeting of September 14th. Did everyone have a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
And does somebody wish to make a motion with respect to, first off, did anybody have any changes, additions, corrections that they felt should be made to the minutes of the September meeting? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, 6 votes in favor, none opposed. Mr. Elliott wasn't here for that meeting, so he did not participate in the vote. And Mr. Scott, it's a nice segue into my next point. I would like to thank Mr. Scott for his service to the Arundecoit Board of Appeals. He sold his house in Arundecoit and moved to Brighton at the end of last month, so he is no longer able and accordingly resigned from the board, leading to the addition of Mr. Elliott to the board. So, Mr. Elliott, welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and thank you for your future service. We thank Mr. Scott for his past service, and unless there's other business to come before the board, we are adjourned. Did you have something?
Oh, I'm just curious if there had been an alternate appointed.
An alternate has not been appointed. If anybody knows of anyone who has interest and would like to be considered, certainly provide that, have that person reach out to me with a resume and letter of interest, and I will be sure it gets to the supervisor.
Sounds good. Thank you for bringing that up.
Coming up next, live coverage of the Arundecoit Zoning Board. We We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Zoning Board on ICAT Government Access. We hope you enjoyed this presentation of the Irondequoit Zoning Board on ICAT Government Access.